Hello everyone, this is Bernice at the Nappy Mouse, and in today's video we're going to be working on side tucks and belly bands. I'm working on the first journal here, and I am just looking for paper to see how I'm going to cover this side, the flap side of this journal here, and I'm going through. These are wrapping papers that I just love, and so I decided on this, and I'm going to either use this one here or uh, a vellum paper instead of the ribbon so I can do the belly band. And I actually like both of them. Um, but I'm gonna first, before I need to cut this down. And so I'm not gonna even measure it or trim it with the trimmer or scissors. I'm just gonna add tick marks here and then use a ruler and cut it with the ruler. Now, if you'd like to ink the edges, that would give it so much more of a distressed look, and it would look absolutely beautiful. That and probably I'm going to do that from here on out with some of my other projects that I show you, only because it just turns out so much beautiful. But anyways, now I'm using the vellum paper to measure and again, I'm just adding tick marks and tearing it. It doesn't really tear up the edges that well, but it just gives it a nice distressed look. And so here I am tearing it up again, but with vellum paper, because I don't like to add glue directly on top of it because it's going to be see-through. I cut it a little bit more, about a quarter of an inch on the top and a quarter of an inch on the bottom, give or take. And all I'm going to do right now is use a piece of tape to tape it down. Now you can glue it down, but no one's going to see it, and it's going to look nice and polished, which that's what I was going for. So I'm going to flip this around right now and add some more tape to the back, just straighten it out a little bit, and then I will adhere glue to it. So that's looking great. And now let's go put some glue on the back. And I prefer to use, I like to do the two glue, which is the regular wet glue and also the glue stick. The glue stick makes it nice and flat and nice and smooth on the back, versus if I use wet glue, it's going to be a little bit bumpy unless I spread it out, and then maybe not so much. But the glue stick for me works the best. And now I'm adding the wet glue just to the ends and making sure that I get enough of it so it could stay down. And here I'm using Art Glitter Glue. It's one of my favorites. And the glue stick that I like to use is the Scotch Permanent Glue Stick. And that works really well. And now I'm attaching it to the flap panel here, and just using my bone folder to smooth everything out and making sure that it is adhere, especially to the ends. Um, and just make sure that throughout time that it will adhere. Now, I just want to see how I'm going to cover this, because I still want to work on that panel right there where it shows and kind of see that I finished a page at the time. So I'm taking an old bag and crumbling it up, and then taking the ink and just inking like that. Now that way does kind of make a mess, but it still works great. Now I like it, but it didn't give enough ink, so I'm gonna put more ink, and I'm just gonna swipe it down, getting myself one of the um, magazine paper just to cover my workspace. And now I'm going to measure it, cut it into size, and then glue it down. And again, just using the ruler. I think it's easier this way, especially. But if you know if you're using a cutting a smaller strip from the ruler, then yeah, that'll make it a little bit challenging. But here we go. And now I'm cutting the other side and I'm going to just even out the bottom. Now, still the paper is a little crooked, but when I glue it down, I'm just going to kind of squish it into place where it doesn't look like it's going to be crooked. It's going to be, give it more texture that way. It'll look more cohesive and it'll end up working instead of me having to cut like a little tiny piece and mess with that. So here I go, and I realize at this point that yeah, it's not it's all crooked and everything, and so but I squish it down, and I did like that look. It just gives it a lot more texture, and I'm using the bone folder just to make sure that it is glued down. There we go, and then squish it back up again. There we go. Now I'm going to be adding some pockets to this, and I'm trying to see which one is a good paper to use as pockets. And a lot of them, like these are all from the Cavallini company paper, or Cavallini Papers and Company. Yes. So Cavallini Paper Company. There we go. And I decided to tear it up, but in the end, I'm not too thrilled with that. So I'm just going to cut it and see what I get. And then I'll fold it. Now, this is what I like to do when I add pockets. Instead of just having it completely matching the ends and then putting glue on it, I prefer to make notches like this or little panels or whatever you want to call it because it gives more space to add more stuff. It's not, and it doesn't take away from the dimensions from the side. Now, in the bottom, it will take away a little bit from the dimension, but not so much. Now, I'm adding my bone folder inside so that when I do press it down to adhere it, it'll still give me a little bit more space to put more things, more tags, more ephemeras, that sort of stuff. So that's just a little trick I like to use. Now, I like these two right here, and I think it looks really great. And I still have some Cavallini papers still on my online store, so I'll have that link down below so you can check it out. But yeah, this was really, really, and the paper too is it's a little textured. Now this one here, I can't remember where I found this piece here, but I just think it's so beautiful, that card, but it just doesn't fit. And I'm not willing to cut it down to make it fit. So I'll save that for another page. But for now, I'm trying to find something that I could fit inside that belly band. Now, this was one of the dot to dot, extreme dot to dot book that I bought from the dollar store. And I just ripped it from the page, from the book itself, and I folded it in half. And that could be like a little treat that the recipient can work on when they receive this. And so far, I like everything. And I really like that paper, that handmade paper, and how it covers. So we're going to now work on the side tucks. And I always like to have a side tuck in the front of any journal because that kind of just lets me throw in any excess pieces of paper that I can save for the next time instead of it falling out of the journal. And so you see me, I'm going to do the same concept that I did with that page where I'm just going to crumble it up and then I'm going to ink it to give it more so you can see more of the distress look and all, and then I will cut it to size. So there we go. And yes, I'm not pressing too hard, even though it may look like it. I just want to get the texture of it. That's all I want to get. I really don't want to get like the bottom part or anything. So, and by the way, a metal ruler cuts a lot easier than a plastic ruler or even a wooden ruler. So just so you know. And now here I'm going to again fold just that one corner right there where I want the flap to give it more room to put stuff in it. And maybe the piece is just a little bit bulky. That's fine. But I wanted to fit in instead of being so tight. And I did put the glue on the side flap and also the bottom. And now here is this was actually a paper runner for a table. And I used to use it as a gift wrapping paper for Christmas one time, but I'm just in love with this paper and I can't get rid of it. So here I'm using it for that. And then also the mesh is a plastic mesh from the grocery where I think I had a bag of onions or something. So, yes, don't forget to save those things also because they can really create such a great designed piece, add more texture to it. I mean, there's so many things that you could do with this. Create like a little bow with it or something, but it's just a great piece. Well, I'm putting more glue than I need for the mesh, and I want to squish the mesh together. So instead of using a hot glue gun, I just use that one and then quickly put my wrapping paper together. And so now these are just some extras that I've got from the Cavallini papers, and I'm going to glue that down right there. Okay. And again, in hindsight, I wish I had inked the edges because it just makes it look a lot prettier. It just makes it pop out so much better. And now I've got some of this extra ribbons here, which this one I like because it is glittery, but the glitter does not come off. And so I'm just putting this on the side just to give it some uh, more pizzazz, more attention to it without it looking so gaudy. And now I'm going to put this guy down and make it complete. Glue that down really quickly. Now, if later on, if I find a button that I like, or if I find a flower that I like, I'll go ahead and, or even a saying, I'll go ahead and glue it down. But for now, I just like the way this came out. Thank you so much for joining me. Please give me a thumbs up and also consider subscribing to my channel. Okay, until next time, take it easy. Bye bye.